Good morning, everyone. It's Friday, 9 a.m. after the attendee party, and you all made it on time. I'm very impressed. Thank you so much for coming to our session. My name is Stefan Wick. I'm a program manager lead on the Windows developer platform. My team works on the UWP app model, and we also work on the Desktop Bridge project in Windows.
And I'm Jenny Cahey. Welcome. Thanks for coming. I'm a Windows development MVP, but most of my career I've spent building line of business applications, and I have applications running all over the US and Canada for many years. So that's mainly my focus for this presentation.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Jeannie.
My pleasure.
So let's get started with our tips and tricks for building a great UWP app for PC. So when you go start building your next development project for desktop, start with UWP. Why? Well, you probably already know UWP has amazing modern features like adaptive layout, animations, ink, the fluent design systems, a lot of stuff that you heard about at Build this week. But did you know UWP also supports developing multi-window applications, line of business enterprise controls, drag and drop between classic and modern applications? Did you know about all the modern deployment capabilities, such as differential updates, optional packages, and app streaming? All of those are available today and make UWP a great choice for your PC development project today. And a lot more is coming in the fall Creators Update later this year. UWP is the future of PC app development. It's at the center of our innovation. It's also the platform that provides the best user confidence and security. And with the Creators Update, UWP is a great choice for your PC project, and it keeps getting better with every Windows 10 update. The UWP app model principles ensure that the user is in control over what an app can and cannot do. Also, the user will not acquire malware or adware when installing your application. The user will always be up to date with your latest patches and updates. Also, we guarantee to the user a clean uninstall of your application at all time. In contrast to that, the Win32 model was invented in a time where you bought software in a box. Can you imagine that? Anyone even remember that? Bought software in a box? A few of you. And so you install from disk, and everyone's running at admin. No problem with that. And the code can run at any point in time without user intention, and it runs at full privileges. And if you ever have a bug, I don't know if you ever had one. I had one. And if you ever had one, a hacker might be able to exploit it and then own your machine this way. Also, uninstalling a Win32 app may leave things behind on your system that will slow down over time, known as PC rot, or cause other harm to your system. Also, do you know all the things that launch at user logon time when you log on to your system? You might want to check in Task Manager on the startup task. There are probably a couple of apps listed. You might want to check, do you know all of them? Did you ever agree that they run at all time and use your battery and slow down your system? Maybe not. Also, have you ever uninstalled an unwanted piece of software from your PC, and after that your system was never the same again due to some flavor of DLL hell or other things that were invented back in the Win32 days? Win32, however, is has a lot of feature and is very feature rich in terms of capabilities. So you can't do that with UWP. Well, so there are a number of things, a number of Win32 features and capabilities that you can't do with UWP today. Definitely you can't be formatting your hard drive, and I guess that's a good thing. And then there are other things. So let's take a look at how many of these are indeed true. So we have collected a number of quotes here on Twitter about UWP development for PCs. So we will address all of these today. So let's pick the first one. Microsoft doesn't even use UWP. Why should I? So this couldn't be further from the truth. So let me tell you, Windows is all in. All our energy is in UWP. We need UWP to be the best and most powerful platform for PC app development. Paint 3D is a great example, an app coming from the Windows team that has been released as part of the Creators Update. It's a powerful desktop application. The Story Remix that you heard about yesterday is another great example here that's brand new. Looking beyond the Windows team, the Office team, the OneNote team specifically, all the engineering resources are dedicated to the UWP version of OneNote, and the last couple of updates there really brought a number of great features, and it's a great example for a desktop app here. And then looking further into the third-party ecosystem, Adobe XD is another great example for a powerful desktop application recently being developed and released as a UWP app. So let's do a little quiz. I have some stuff to give away. I have a Ninja Cat statue. I don't think you can buy those in stores, so this is your opportunity to get one. Whoever gets the answer right first will get one of those statues. I have my assistant down here who will help with that. So which of these things can you do in UWP today? Jump list, multiple window instances, overlay views, long-running operations. Who has it? Shout it. You can do that. Anything else? Yes. This gentleman with the glasses, can you hand him his Ninja Cat, please? Thank you for that. So all of these are available today in the Creators Update. And so UWP is only for mobile. UWP can't do what I need for LOB apps, so let's talk about this a little bit, and I'll hand it over to Jeannie. She will show us what she has built, and this is not like coming soon stuff. This is what she has built today with the Creators Update SDK.
Does anybody recognize this data? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone? No? Come on. The Northwind data set is probably the oldest database and the very most famous database in SQL Server history. But it wasn't built originally for SQL Server. This data goes back to the Access days. And if you look at the data in here, there are actually orders that date from 1996. But 1996 is not particularly old for some data that my customers use. Data is valuable, and it has a very long life. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to access that data and work with that data with last century tooling. So what I'm trying to show in this demo is some of the ways you can put a pretty new face on some data that's still providing great value. Now, everything I'm showing in this demo you can do today with Creators Access, or Creators Update. Creators Update provided a couple of new features that I'll show, and most of the stuff I'm showing you could do even before Creators Update. But I want to highlight some things that you might not have thought of that line of business users will particularly enjoy. For one thing, I'm supporting hotkeys. If you look at the View Orders button in the upper left corner, you can just barely see a tooltip that says you can access that button using Control-V. Similarly, the new Purchase Order button has a hotkey connected to it for Control-N. There's a surprising number of users who still don't really want to use a mouse if they don't have to. They prefer to use everything from the keyboard. Some others are required to for one reason or another. So I'll do Control-N to launch a new purchase order. Okay, we're going to fill in this purchase order with things that we want to buy. I'll start by docking this window to the left and Northwind products to the right. Well, this is kind of kludgy, isn't it? But the idea is that we can drag and drop things from one window to the next to fill in our orders. Let's go choose something else. Fortunately, beginning with the Creator's Update, there's a better way to work with multiple windows. So I'm going to toggle the size of the new order window into what's called a compact view. Many people think of this as picture-in-picture. Now I can even maximize the products window and my orders stay on top. So I can add more things. Pretty handy, right? But wait, there's more. I have an app pinned to my taskbar that looks really beautiful to me. I actually built it on the airplane on the way here to Seattle, but it looks very much like an app I might have built at the turn of the century for working with the same data. This is a Windows form applications, and perhaps some of you have been lucky enough to build applications that look quite a lot like this. But would you be surprised to learn that we can drag and drop from the Windows form application over onto the UWP application? Pretty cool. And as a developer of enterprise software, I find this really, really useful because there is no way that I can rewrite and have tested all of my enterprise suite of software at one time to convert to UWP. So this gives me a way to do a gradual migration from WinForms or even older applications into a UWP nice new face. And it's all happening with the magic of Windows, really. There's nothing special about this very cool WinForms application. It's not running in the same Apex package. There are no tricks going on here. It is just a plain old WinForms application. Now, if we look at the form, we can see that we've got about $101 worth of stuff spent. Well, I think we need more beer. I was told we were going to have beer at this session, and I'm sure one case of Steel Ice Stout is not enough for this entire room. So let's add some more. Does that look about right? You think that'll be enough? Okay, now they say there's no such thing as a free lunch, or in this case, a free breakfast. This is not even free as in beer. We're going to have to pay for it. So I'm going to click the pay button, and I'll show you something else that's new with the Creator's Update. This provides me as an application developer to be able to work with data that a user has stored in a Microsoft wallet for stored credit cards. Have any of you worked with payment processing companies and done integrations in enterprise applications? See a few of you? Okay. Well, I've done quite a few of those myself, and some process credit cards faster than others. But one thing they all have in common is the slow part is getting the data from the credit card and then sending it to their downstream banks for processing. So this provides the way so that you can have stored credit cards. I don't know who John Smith is, but I've been hitting his card big time lately. So I'll choose one of his credit cards. I'll pick a shipping address. Oh, look, I wonder where John Smith works. Well, they have plenty of money, so I'm not going to worry about it. Now let's choose a shipping method. I think we're all thirsty, right? So I'll go with 2-day. I could choose where to mail the receipt. And just as a double check, I want to make sure that all of the items that I've selected from my Northwind products are correct, that this is what I'm actually getting. So should we hit his credit card? Yes? Oh, all right. There we go. CVV. Wonder what it is. I'll try that one. Another level of security. I hope I can type this correctly. No, better try again. All right. My order is confirmed. John Smith's getting a nice bill for beer for the audience, and we can continue shopping. Payments succeeded, and I've stored the information about the order. Well, let's take a look at the orders. This is an orders view that was done with just a couple of lines of code, if you can believe it. It uses the Telerik UI for UWP data grid, and it's extremely powerful for so little coding. For example, I can change the sort order. I can also filter. Moreover, I can group by dragging the column that I want to group by over here. Now I can see all of the orders in the database by groups. I think this will be very appealing to enterprise customers to be able to so quickly look at the data that they're working with. I think that's all.
Awesome.
For this one.
Cool. All right, thank you so much, Jeannie, for this awesome demo. So,
should I show the code?
Yeah, why not? Actually, we have a developer audience.
You want to see code?
Let's look at the code.
Okay. I'm not. Oh, look. There's a little secret. Because not only was I showing you tips and tricks, but there's also a secret that I'm using for accessing the data in the database. But I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the code because we'll have the code available for you on GitHub or somewhere after this session. But I want to show you, just highlight a few things. For example, hotkey handling is done by, they're called accelerator keys. And it's just a matter of wiring up the event handler for the entire window and listening for these accelerator keys. And then once you get a V, I'm executing the code that I would have if I tap the View Orders button, a virtual key of N, Control N. I now have New Order tabbed. So that's accelerator key handling. To launch the new orders window, what we're now working with is a view, a Windows view, calling Create New View on the core application. This code is pretty much boilerplate, but here you can recognize something that should look familiar to you. This is just the orders page like you would build in XAML for any other standard kind of UWP application. Assuming that I am able to launch that successfully, I don't have any errors, I can call try show as standalone async on the application view switcher, and if that succeeds, then I can actually switch control to the new view. These separate views in Windows run on separate threads. They are not completely independent, but you can think of them as being pretty much independent. Now the drag and drop handling code is also pretty simple. There are two steps with UWP applications for dragging and dropping. The first is indicating which operations you support, and in this case I'm supporting copy. And really all I'm doing is I'm setting the text to the product ID expressed as a string, and then calling the data package machinery to send it over. Then on the orders page, we're sort of looking at the reverse, because This is the drop target for the drag and drop operation. Again, we specify what accepted operations we're going to handle. And then here's the drop code, very similar to the drag, but in reverse. I unpack the text that I'm getting back, and if it's valid text and if it represents a valid product ID, I'm just adding another item to the list of order details that I'm building on the form. The compact overlay, or picture-in-picture, is simpler still. You can choose whether you want the default size or the compact size. And in this case, I'm specifying a minimum window size. But that's not required. If you don't specify a minimum window size for your compact view, you get a little teeny one, which is resizable, but you probably want to design your application with a minimum window size that makes sense for your user. Now when we look at the Microsoft Payments Code, this again is new with the Creators Update. We collect payment items from the details that are listed on the form, fill in some shipping types, merchant information, what kinds of cards we accept, and send them to the Microsoft Payment Mediator as a request async. Anybody see any JavaScript in here? Anybody see any calls to Microsoft Authentication in here? I didn't have to write any of that. That's just part of the Microsoft Payments API. The whole UI for the payment structure, including the authentication, is handled completely by somebody else. And for viewing orders, I told you it was easy with the Telerik control. Look how easy it is. One line of code. And similarly, there's only a line of code in the XAML too to do all of this magic. So pretty easy.
Awesome, yeah.
You can see why I almost forgot to show it. It's just nothing.
So what was your secret?
Oh, that secret thing again. All right, I'll show you. But I'll tell you a trick. Secrets in UWP applications are often found in the Apex manifest. Oops, that's not the way I want to look at it. If you want to see a secret, you want to look directly at the code. Here's some secrets. Look, I'm running an app service that I built, that console application you got to peek at. Shows the Northwind data service, and guess what? It's running full trust. Now that should not be a surprise to any of you who are familiar with Desktop Bridge, but it's just something to keep in mind, that this is full trust to use this. And what's actually happening is the SQL Bridge, my Win32exe running as a console application, is handling requests and responses from the UWP application. It's also dealing with the SQL data. So it's the console application that's actually connecting to the database, and data's being passed back and forth as JSON in key value pairs. It's doable, right? It's even performant. But frankly, I think it's sort of a pain to maintain all of that plumbing. Anybody agree with me? Okay, okay, all right. Just
all right. So you want to do it directly from the UWP?
I think I have made no secret of that.
All right.
That is what I would prefer.
Have you posted on User Voice and voted on it?
I did. Did anybody here upvote that? Yes.
All right.
Yes. All right.
Okay. Well, let's look into this. Thanks for the demo. It was really awesome. Switch over to the slides, and so let's pick the next item here. Starting with UWP is too hard, and there's only like one blank template in Visual Studio, and that's not enough. So let me show you what we have done to improve this. And this is actually something we announced yesterday. Okay. Is this the right machine? Too many machines here. All right, here we go. Yesterday we announced the Windows Template Studio to help you get started with UWP and to build great applications with just a few clicks, or get a solid foundation for a great application. And so I want to show you this from scratch, starting a new instance of Visual Studio, doing a file new project. And so here it is, my Windows Template Studio. So what it gets you is a kind of a wizard experience where you can basically pick your UWP adventure. And so I'm selecting a pivot and tabs. I'm kind of old school with code behind, so I'll stick with that. Here I can select kind of the initial set of pages that I want in my application. A blank page is already included by default, but I also want a settings page. And I want a page with a web view, just kind of as an about page where I can link back to my product's website. So I'm adding these pages here in the wizard. There's a number of other features I can add, like background tasks, support for live tiles, toast notifications. So those make it really easy to access those features, so you don't have to learn all the APIs in detail. I won't need them here, and you can also add these features later. So I'll just hit the create button. And so now this will spin about a minute or so and create all this code for me. So this is code that will be part of my solution. This is not some library or NuGet package or so. So all of that code will be yours, and you get to own and change it. So here we are. So this is all the code nicely organized. It's being created. I also get a task list here that the wizard creates for me, which points out a couple of to-dos, points or lines of code that I might want to change because I just filled in some placeholders here. For example, in my about page, I want to change the hyperlink. Is that font big enough? Maybe even too big. So let me change this to point to my product's website, aka MS. All right, so another thing that is provided with the template generator is a string table. So all the strings are automatically put into the right resource format. So this way you are set up for localization automatically. You can add your new strings here. And now you can plug in our multilingual toolkit and select kind of what languages you want to support for your international customers. The toolkit will not only provide you the infrastructure for that, but it will actually also plug into Bing translation and can provide you a starting point for your international versions, and you can start testing in those languages as well. So let me make a few changes here so I get set up for my line of business application that I want to write. And I want to change or add a little bit of code here so it's not just a completely empty application. So here's the place where it tells me I can add my content to the page. So you don't want to see me write the code, so I've created a snippet to insert here. So a little bit of XAML. So that's 5 lines of XAML or so. And so I'm using also the data grid control from the Telerik UI for UWP that Jeannie mentioned earlier. Now I get a squiggly here, and this is because I haven't added the Telerik package yet. So let me do this real quick so you can also learn how to add this. I'll just do a quick search. And here it is, Telerik UI for UWP. This is free and open source from Telerik. It's a great suite of enterprise LOB controls, not only including the data grid, also including chart controls and a lot more. So this will be a quick install. And here we go. Now I just need a little bit of code behind here in my main page. And again, I'll just get a snippet in here. And so with this snippet, all I want to do is add some sample data to populate my data grid. So I basically create an observable collection of this type and just create 100 random items of that to get going. So let me hit F5 and see what we got. Okay. Here we go. Here's my app. So now I have my TPS report viewer. I can add it in the data grid control. All of this basically comes for free with the one line of XAML that I've added with the Telerik control. I can sort and filter and group all the nice things that Jeannie already showed in her demo. I also got a settings page that the Template Studio created for me, and I get for free kind of my theme switch here, so the user can pick the theme. And on my About page, you can learn more about TPS reports by watching the movie. All right, that's how easy it is to get started. So where's my clicker? Okay, I have another quiz because I have one more Ninja Cat statue to give away. Similar question. Which of these things can you do as of the creators update? No, it's not that easy. Anyone?
How to launch a login?
No. No one wants the Ninja Cat?
Run from the command line?
None. Who said none? Okay. Give this man his Ninja Cat. Good job. Yeah, none. So UWP isn't complete yet. It's a journey, and we're on that journey. But we have a plan of attack. We have identified the major holes, and we're taking a tiered approach to tackle those. And this is based on user feedback we get on user voice, on the feedback hub, but also internally from all our teams that are betting big on UWP. And we plan to address those gaps in priority order in the next update and beyond. And this is also where you guys come in, because we need your help to prioritize our backlog. By opening our backlog and engaging with you in user voice and other forums, this is really an important part for us to make this process data-driven. Did I mention Windows is all in? All our energy is in UWP. Aside from all the inbox apps that are being built on UWP today, also all the new experiences in the operating system, such as Cortana, Action Center, Timeline, My People, those are all built on UWP, and we need UWP to be the best and most powerful platform. So next one here, what do you have? UWP is only good for toy apps. So let me show some of the progress that we've made since the creators update this spring. So I have a build here that is kind of a development build from our internal branches. And so I have evolved my TPS viewer application a little bit further from what I've just shown you a second ago. So I'm a command line guy, and I'd like to process my TPS reports from the command line. And so let me see what I have here in this directory. There's a couple of TPS reports. And so let me launch my UWP app. And so I want to process the Milton report and add some command line parameters here. So I also added a splash screen, as you see. So thanks, yeah. I'll make it available on GitHub. So. And so let me launch the other guy, Lumberg. I want to view this one as well. So I want to do the side-by-side comparison here. So I needed to have like 2 instances of my app that can run isolated. And I want to run them from the command line. So let's take a look here in Task Manager. So these 2 instances of my TPS viewer, they are running in separate processes, isolated from each other. So this is something you can't do today on the public build with UWP. UWP is a single instant by default, and so that is a new feature that we're currently designing. Now you might ask, hey, I've seen like multiple instances of calc running, right? So let me pop up a few here. So yeah, that's certainly true. You can do that, but they all actually run in the same process. They are not isolated from each other. So if you ever notice that, what calculator does is essentially kind of a trick where when a new activation comes in, it spins up a new view of its UI. In the same process, but it's not isolated process in itself. So that you also, if you hit a crash, for example, all of your views would go away. Like if I end this guy, all those instances go away in calc. So this is what calc does. Obviously, you can do today if that works for your scenario where you don't need like a lot of isolation on the process level, where you just want to show different instances. But for true isolation, which more complex applications definitely need and want, that's a feature that we're actively working on right now, and we'll hope to get it out to an insider build in the near future. So let's take a look at how I've done this in my TPS viewer application. And as G already said, a good place to look for these app model features and capabilities that I'm using in an app, always a good place to look at the manifest, specifically looking at what extensions I'm defining here. So in my extension section, the first one here, there's nothing new here. We had this since day one. This is how you declare a file type association. So when the user double clicks on a TPS report, your application launches it. So this is not new. What's new here is the next guy, the app execution alias. So this is the feature that we're building to support command line launch and command line arguments for your UWP application. So what I'm declaring here is that for my UWP TPS viewer, I want the system to know this as TPS viewer.exe. So now when I go on a command line or from a script, I execute this, the system knows, oh, what I really need to do is launch this UWP app and pass in the command line arguments to that process.
Change it to Notepad X hijack system?
No. No, you won't. But we can. It's a great question. Yeah, the question was, hey, if I change that to notepad.exe, then I can hijack Notepad, and no, you can't. And we can talk about the details of that offline. But certainly a good point that we have thought through as well. Next one, startup task. So what I've added here is another new feature that we'll get into in Insider Build pretty soon. The ability for an app to declare itself as a startup task. And so in my enterprise, I want all my employees, first thing in the morning, make sure they read their TPS reports. And so I want my application to launch when the user logs in so they can get the job done. Now, this is also an opportunity for us to really build that feature in the right way. Because in Win32 this already exists, but it exists in a way where any app can just put itself into that list without user consent. The user doesn't know what's going on. Here we're designing it with the user in mind and with the user in control. So the way we're thinking about it is that declaring it doesn't enable it, but when the user runs the app can then call an API to enable it, at which point we pop up a one-time user consent dialog, so the user gets a choice whether they want to enable this. And then when the app actually launches at logon, we're launching it to the taskbar, minimized. So the app does get to run code and get ready for user engagement, but it won't pop up in your face. It won't pop up on top of what you're already working on. So this is another good example of how UWP makes Windows better for all of us. And then last but not least, let's take a look at this attribute here. So this is an attribute on the application object. Again, this is a feature that we're actively designing right now, and we're looking for your input on that very soon. So by default today, all UWP apps are single instance, meaning if you launch a second one, it will just activate the already running instance. By setting this attribute, we will make it so that each activation will bring up a new isolated instance. So it's the developer choice to set that attribute, and then you can test it, make sure all your code works well in that context. All right, so that's that demo. Switch back to slides and see what we have next. So we are expanding UWP in multiple ways and on multiple dimensions. There are new ways for users to engage and interact with your desktop software. Project Rome to bridge the silos between devices, apps, people, and services. We have also expanded our platform and tooling with the Desktop Bridge in the anniversary update, actually. And the Desktop Bridge provides a path for existing apps to the UWP. It helps you migrate your code, helps you reuse your existing skills, your existing code, your features, all the code that you've already written. And essentially, it allows all apps to use the full power of Windows 10. Last but not least, API expansion. That's an important topic, and we talked about it yesterday in the keynote and in other sessions. UWP is going to align with .NET Standard 2.0 in the next update. Along the same lines, we're making more and more Win32 APIs available to be called directly from the UWP application, such as direct access to the file system and create process and other APIs like that. So now let's see another demo and how the .NET Standard work helps Jeannie's project. Actually, we need to switch to this one.
This is an experimental machine right here, and it's running some experimental bits that are so hot, I can't even put them on my production machine yet. So this isn't something you can do today, but it makes me very, very happy to show you that I am working with the very same Northwind data directly from a UWP application. I can view the orders, I can create new orders. Everything works exactly as before for a very simple reason. It's exactly the same application with one very important difference. You want to see the code? Okay. Again, let's look at the secrets in the Apex manifest. There's no full trust application anymore. There's no app service anymore. Instead, I have added a few new capabilities to be able to talk directly to the SQL Server database using TCP. Moreover, when I am dealing with the database, instead of going through the SQL bridge, I am able to load the products directly from the very same data helper code that I used for the console application and the SQL bridge that I used for Creators Update. And if you take a look at that code, you can see that it's the very same SQL Server code that you may have been working with for years and years and years. The same T-SQL, the same SQL client, the same SQL data reader. Everything is exactly the same, because with the magic of .NET Standard 2.0, I now have SQL client directly in a UWP application. I think that's very cool. So thank you, Microsoft, for providing that feature. And all of you who voted on User Voice for the feature, thank you too, because without your support, it might not have happened.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think Andrew now gets a beer, is that right?
I promised him here.
Awesome, yeah. And so yeah, this has been a pretty popular User Voice request, and so I'm happy to actually change the status here. I'm using my admin powers here, so I will change the status right here on stage. I can't just put it to in preview yet because it's not in the Insider today, but I'll put it to working on it, and then pretty soon it'll change to in preview. Where's the save button? Here we go. All right, sure. Send it to me. And so it's been updated. So. Okay, UWP is the future. UWP is getting a lot more complete with .NET Standards 2.0. And it's at the center of new innovation with Fluent Design System, Inc., Project Rome, mixed reality, and so much more. It also is the platform that ensures user confidence, system stability, and security. By building your app as UWP, you have the competitive advantage today and in the future. You can provide the best user confidence, trustworthy deployment. You can target Surface Hub and Windows 10 S devices, and so much more. Get started today and help us build the future with UWP. Thank you very much. And we'll take questions. We have a couple of minutes left. Before we go there, a couple of resources here to help you get started. The Windows Template Studio is available today. There's new learning resources if you're new to UWP. Also lots of content on Desktop Bridge if you're an existing Win32 app developer. And then last but not least, Telerik UI for UWP, free and open source from our friends at Telerik. A couple of other sessions, John Sheehan's talk on Desktop Bridge, Andrew Koenig's talk on App Model. You can watch those on demand. The other talks are still happening today. Right after this, there is the 10 things you didn't know about Visual Studio for building UWP apps. That should be a great talk. I think it's actually in this room. And more to come this afternoon. Thanks again, and if you have questions, please walk up to the microphone so we can record it.
Good morning. As we speak today, what are the options that we have for local storage, like SQL-CE, SQLite, something like that?
Yeah, SQLite is a great option. Yeah, that's a pretty popular option.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And the second one, is it in, okay, you are working on it. Is it near, really speaking, in preview, the
yes.
SQL?
Yes, so we expect this to go in an insider build, in the coming weeks.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have around 40 business applications mainly invested on .NET, C#, WPF, high throughput trading applications. So when do you think UWP will be ready for us?
So those are like WinForms or WPF style application, yeah. So a good first step that you can and should take today is use the desktop bridge and start package your app as a Windows Universal App Package. That you can do today. You will not have to change your code for that, but you will start taking advantage of deployment features, and you can then gradually migrate your code to UWP at your own pace. So it's not like a one-shot thing, or you don't have to rewrite your code. You can do it gradually, and you can start today without changing your code.
Is that supports the multiple instances?
Yes. Yep. Certainly does. Yep.
Thank you.
Hi. I have a question about the multi-instances and settings. If we were to change the settings in one app, would it be possible to update it automatically in the other instance?
Yes, yeah, you can do that. You have a shared storage between the two, so that will be up to your application to decide, what settings you want to share between instances and what settings you want to have separate between instances.
Okay, and with the changes of the theme, for example, would it be possible to, when you click on one instance, would it be possible to at the same time update it on every instance, or would you have to manually pull it?
To automatically when one. So that would be possible. You would have to write code for that to kind of notify your app of that change. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Question regarding access to WCF. Will it be possible with support for TCP IP?
WCF, that's a great question. I don't know, maybe Peter, maybe we can take this offline. I don't have the answer offhand, but I'm sure we can figure it out. If you want to stay around for another minute, we can get you the answer.
Thanks.
Hi. How much of the new features like compact overlay and like a multi-instance, like any of this stuff come into the other platforms? It looks like it's mostly desktop only.
Yeah, that's a good question. A compact overlay is not necessarily desktop only, but it also doesn't apply to all platforms. Like on a phone, it does not make a whole lot of sense. So we are evolving those features, and essentially every shell in Windows can decide whether or not they support it. So for features like that we typically provide an API that you as an app can call to check, hey, is the system supporting this feature, and then you can use it where it is supported.
Another question I have is like some of the stuff like the desktop, like being able to have a desktop process in anniversary update.
Yep.
That caused an issue with us packaging for backwards compatibility. Like we have a desktop applet that we use for just some certain features. And if a person wasn't on anniversary update, we had to actually make a different package because it wouldn't, the store wouldn't accept the...
Okay, is that to support like the original Windows 10?
And November update.
Okay, yeah. I'm aware of a problem with the original, but for the November update, maybe we can sync up offline on that, so that should work, at least for the November update.
Okay. So the question was more like, is this kind of be a problem going forward, or can you expect back?
No. The design is that you can declare extensions that use like new features and still target previous versions of Windows 10, and those will just be ignored. But there was a bug in the original release of Win 10 where some of that didn't work. Okay. So, but going forward, that is expected to work.
Thank you.
Just have a follow-up question concerning one of your examples. So right there, one of your examples, you can instruct your applications to launch a service. So once your application terminates, would that service terminate as well?
So you're talking about the full trust process that the UWP spins up. So that is in your control, actually. So in our example, we have we're listening to the app service close event, and if it's closed, then we'll shut down the full trust process. But you could continue running. It's your choice at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. Without getting into real detail, I noticed on the project templates that there was a box below the one that you checked. It said MVVM.
Yep.
Would you be able to briefly just describe to me what that does? Does it actually install MVVM Lite on it, or what framework is it using?
Yes. For detailed question, actually, I would recommend you stay in this room, and the next session we'll talk about that in a lot more detail, and actually the project lead for the template studio will be on stage for that.
Oh, perfect.
And he will be a much better person to answer those questions.
Perfect, thank you.
Hi, so on UWP you're able to open multiple windows for the same application, but if you have multi-monitor setup, for instance, all the windows open on top of each other, do you plan on adding APIs that allow you programmatically moving the window?
Yeah, we are, and definitely, help us prioritize that on user voice. Post your scenario, or it's probably already there. Vote on it, and yeah, it's on our list.
Okay.
I got a follow-up question for the full trust process. Can you package it with your application as well and deploy it with the application?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, I have a question. We have a Win32 application, so I'm going to using the desktop bridge converted contained into UWP things, and the question I have is, our Win32 application, we access the SQL data through the remote in method. And after using the UWP to access the SQL, we would like to continue that feature so our user, whenever they don't have to be on our network. They can go any place to access that data. So UWP has that remoting feature as well?
Yeah, so if you are a .NET desktop application today, and you're converting with the desktop bridge, all the same features will continue to work the same way. So there's no change there.
But after converting that and I starting adding the new feature using the UWP, is that remoting feature also available in the UWP?
No, it's not today. If you want to call it from a pure UWP process, that is not available today. But in your converted Win32 process, you can call that. Yep.
Are you going to add that remoting feature in the future down the road?
I'm not sure about the specific features. We can follow up offline. You can maybe take my card, and I can get you more information about that. Yeah.
Hi, I'm working on a new app, and we're getting ready to, and it has a main UI and then a background task that we want, always to run, and the user, try to discourage them from killing that. Is UWP for us, or should we just create a normal installer and use Desktop Bridge?
No, you can. So, are you planning to distribute through the store or through your enterprise, or
through the store?
Okay, so you basically need a process that's running continuously.
Right.
So, I mean, you can do it with the desktop bridge approach the same way as Jeannie was doing it in her first demo. Like that is one approach. But I would also kind of maybe challenge you on that a little bit and ask, does that process really need to run all the time, or is that just more of a convenience for you to run it that way?
No, it's kind of a requirement of how our app is designed, and it's meant to protect users from internet usage, or internet accountability is what we do. So it's supposed to be always running.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, so we might want to follow up offline, and we can chat about some more details and options there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I think we're out of time here. We probably need to clear the stage now for the next guys coming in. And so I'll be available a little more down here. You had more question? 5 minutes. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.